Hello and welcome to the Retail is Detail podcast with your host, Jamie Hamer. The Retail is Detail podcast focuses on technology and innovation in retail, with guests from either innovative retail tech players or retailers themselves who are adopting new technologies. We interview founders and C-suite executives from top firms who are changing the retail game for the better and delighting the end consumer. This podcast is brought to you by insurance technology firm Loxa, where I am co-founder. Loxa is on a mission to ensure the future of retail includes fair, transparent, seamless product protection for your most valuable possessions. We work with retailers to offer product protection at the point of sale or direct to customers, designing fair, transparent, easily claimable product protection with the end customer in mind, which is at the heart of everything we do. We've got another brilliant guest for you on the show today. Let's get started. Welcome to the Retail is Detail podcast with me, Jamie Hamer, joined today by Isabella Sumner of InHaus. Welcome, Isabella.
Hi, Jamie.
Hey, so InHaus is a sort of studio tool for product videos in a affordable, scalable way focused on the fashion industry. So you've got a background yourself in styling and project management before founding InHaus. What was the moment you realized that video was the missing piece for fashion e-commerce?
I think I need to be honest and say it wasn't me, it was my co-founder. My co-founder, Till, he is a photographer director right now and still is, working sort of high-level campaigns. But on his journey to get there, he did a lot of e-com. So he was working in the e-com sort of studios. He worked at Zalando for a good number of years. And he could see that a lot of them were trying to do video. And they were starting projects and they were failing and they were folding them, or they were just unable to scale at the sort of levels that they wanted to. He actually, the first idea he came up with was a workflow process tool. So he just wanted to improve workflow processes within a studio across everything. But it got narrower and narrower until we realized that video is the one that we should be focusing on.
So what other issues are studios dealing with that you might have solved and may solve in the future?
So if we're talking specifically about InHaus and what we've solved, by taking out traditional camera software and hardware and the training that's required and replacing it with a really accessible tool, which is on an iPhone. I mean, if you can use an app, you can use InHaus. And then anything that comes with using an app, I mean, it's already connected to the internet. So rather than having to remove SD cards and transfer data manually, it's all just done by Wi-Fi. Workflow process is something that we really concentrated on from the very start when we first designing wireframes before we'd even built the actual app. Me and Till did all the wireframes, and actually, to be honest, they've not changed very much, even from the very first ones that we used to pitch to our first investors.
Did you meet Till? How did this all come about?
Me and Till are married, so I don't know if you knew that, Jamie.
Before this? That's great.
Yeah, it's no secret, but it's not something that we sort of like enter into conversations with. In fact, we were at a client's once and we'd been working already there a week. And something had happened that was a bit stressful, and I ended up putting my hand on Till's back to sort of like calm him down and reassure him. And the sort of our champion at this client sort of turned to us and was like, "Oh, now I know what's going on." But we didn't meet through the fashion industry or anything. We met on Tinder. I was already out of the fashion industry. I'd sort of like done my styling bit and moved on to sort of like what you mentioned, the sort of like operational stuff in galleries and museums. But Till was still a photographer. And when I met him, I was a bit like, I really wanted to get out of this industry, and now I've just signed up to it again, basically. And after a few years of knowing him and him talking about this idea, COVID hit. And that's when we decided to start InHaus, because we were both sat around doing nothing.
As an angel investor, I've had several ideas which are like Tinder for co-founders pitched to me. But you're saying just regular Tinder can also work.
Just regular Tinder. I mean, I wasn't out there looking for a co-founder. I wasn't even looking for a husband, to be fair. But I found both. So if you could combine the two, then I'm sure you'd be onto some sort of successful product market fit right away.
All in one person for you. So what's the best and worst thing about working with your spouse?
This is a really hard one. I mean, it's easy to answer. The answer is simple. The hardest thing is that you're never off from work. There's no one to go home to and complain about work or like your colleague, because that is your work and your colleague that you're talking to. And so it's really difficult to switch off. I mean, we'll be lying in bed, falling asleep and still talking about things that need to be done, planning the next day. And also the exciting stuff, like the ideas that we're like getting off one another and bouncing. I mean, it's non-stop excitement, but also non-stop stress. And then I guess that's kind of good and bad rolled into one. But I would add that one of the good things is there's no sort of filter. So we can work together, and like people around us are like thinking that we're having an awful time because we're shouting and I'm really stuck on this and Till's really stuck on that. But in the end, because we're both able to bring those completely opposing views to the table, I think when we come to the solution, whatever it is that we agree on, because we do end up agreeing, that is the best solution. There's no sort of holding back. There's no sort of politeness when you're working with your partner. I don't know if you've ever done it, but I think there's good and bad parts to it.
So my girlfriend's a therapist, so we have a lot of sort of thought around social contracting and how we work together as partners. How do you design those frameworks so you can be sort of critical at work, or what the guidelines of how you interact?
I don't think we have actually designed them. We've fallen into them, and now we have a therapist, a couples therapist. I didn't think we could get through many more years of doing this without a therapist to sort of like guide us through good ways of communicating and sort of spotting when we're not communicating properly, because we've not got it all sorted. We've not, it's that classic thing, really. We don't know what we're doing. Nobody knows what they're doing. Everyone's just winging it every single day. Our team is still tiny, so we're really lucky to have not maybe had to have designed processes to help communication yet. I think it's going to get there, though. It's something that I will have to concentrate on, definitely.
This is not where I expected this podcast to go, but really enjoying it. What have been the benefits of effectively co-founder therapy, and is that something you'd recommend to other founders?
You know what? I think everybody should do therapy. I think it's really weird that friends don't do therapy together. Like, what relationship do you have? Some people from like, primary school, like nursery, where you're growing and learning together. And how can you expect to always get on and communicate well? I think everybody should be in therapy, but I think at that point, everybody's just in therapy, doing therapy all the time. Maybe this is the thing that I should be working on next: how to get everybody into therapy in short, sharp bursts.
Got a business partner for you. Really interesting concept, especially with the number one or two reason that startups fail, maybe apart from running out of money or not finding product market fit, being co-founder breakup of some sort.
Yeah. I mean, which one's worse? Is it the business failing or is it the marriage failing?
If you had to choose one, which one would you go for?
I think there's sunken costs in both, isn't there?
Is that that's a no, I'm not going to answer that.
I'm refusing to answer that one.
Okay. So how was fundraising? You got investment from Solid Bonds and others. How was that?
Yeah.
And how are you using it?
It's hard every single time, isn't it? I don't think anyone enjoys fundraising. Do you enjoy fundraising, Jamie?
Yes, because I kind of look at it like sales. But yes, I think I'm unusual.
I think I have heard you say that before, actually. I don't particularly enjoy fundraising. No, I think it's really hard at early stages when you don't have traction. So once you have traction, I mean, I'm having conversations now. We're not currently fundraising, but sort of like setting up those conversations. And now that we have traction and product market fit, and we're proving that what we're building is worth it, the conversations are so much easier. But previously, really tough. I mean, partly, I don't want to say it's because I'm a female founder, but it definitely played into it. I've definitely felt that being a negative thing before. We've had conversations with investors, me and Till both in the conversation, and they've just spoken to Till the whole way through. And then I'm the CEO. Till is, we call him creative director. He does like a bit of everything, but he's just sort of the brains behind everything, driving it. He's the genius. But I'm the one who knows about roadmap and financials and cash flow forecasts and all the planning. And they will still ask Till. He will turn to me, get the information, and then the conversation will still continue with Till. And that was like an hour and a half meeting that we once had with somebody. And even after that, we got into a taxi afterwards, and Till was like, what the hell just happened? That was so weird. You were just ignored. Multiple experiences like that. So I don't want to say that definitely made fundraising harder for us. I mean, it must have some sort of impact because we've definitely had sort of deals fall through and stuff. And I wouldn't necessarily say that the deal fell through because I'm a female founder, but I think it's just a harder slog, maybe. We've fundraised a few times now. I've done it a few times. When I first started the business with Till, he turned to me and was like, so should we build InHaus then? And I was like, we can't do it. We don't have any money. And he patted me on the shoulder and was like, you don't use your own money. And I was gobsmacked. I had no idea that fundraising existed. I thought Dragon's Den was a TV show built for TV. I had to learn everything from the ground up. I mean, I'm from like a state school in Manchester. Nobody had ever mentioned that fundraising exists, and that's how big businesses are built. The learning curve for me is that like classic, very, very, very steep hockey stick.
And so, what about, like, I'm sure now that you've done it successfully, you get asked for advice for other female founders. What's your key nuggets?
My favorite one is ask for advice, get funding, ask for funding, get advice. I think that's just always the case. Like, go out there and just ask people for advice everywhere. And at some point, somebody gets interested. I think that's the only advice you can give. Everything else is sort of like all the classics of just ask everybody. When you're like, oh, so where do I find angel investors? And it's just like, just ask everybody for money. Obviously, maybe not quite with that phrasing, but that's essentially the rule is just spread far and wide, ask everybody. You get connections through that. Don't be embarrassed. You never know who's going to turn around and be like, oh, I know somebody, or even I am interested.
And if you had your fundraise journeys again, what would you do differently?
That's really tough. I don't think we've done anything massively wrong. So that's one thing that I'm pretty proud of. There's definitely been ups and downs. I mean, it's what everybody wants. Try and do more with less money. We've really not raised that much money, and we've lasted a long time before we actually started making money. I've had comments before from people saying like, we just can't believe you're still going and you've still got cash. And that's basically because I don't let Till spend anything. I've got the card and everything has to be signed off by me. Doing more with less, spending less right at the very beginning, because we weren't growth at the beginning. I didn't really understand the different stages of sort of like, at what point do you hit sort of like the moment where you actually need to spend to make money. And I think we spent quite a lot at the beginning, not on unnecessary things. It wasn't frivolous, but I think we could have done more at the beginning with less and then had a little bit extra cash further down the line.
What do you regret spending on?
Some lawyers, unnecessarily expensive. They were good, and it wasn't a huge expense, to be honest. Maybe some bits of sort of like paying for people to design stuff for us. Like, yes, there are certain times when we had great designers working for us and it was really needed, but other times when I think we sort of spent it just to make sure we were doing okay and we were doing well, but actually it wasn't necessary. We could have done it with more of a shoestring budget.
So we've covered unnecessary spending, we've covered therapy. Let's move on to some happier topics. So currently, globally, only about 15% of products have a video, despite the fact that it's proven to increase conversion rates and minimize returns. So why is there that enormous gap, and how did that become apparent to you?
It's that classic thing that we're all trying to solve. It's costly and it's complicated. It's what every startup wants to solve. Less costly, less complicated. And like I already touched on workflows, the equipment that people are using to make product videos, which need to be lots of them and consistent throughout the day, every single day. For a video that's this big on your phone normally, that gets taken down after 4 months because the season has ended, people are using cinema quality video cameras. And I think I don't want to say that people are like overdoing it, because these videos still need to look good. Using InHaus and using an iPhone is not making these videos look bad. All we're doing is trying to make it scalable. You can pay a huge amount for a video because you're essentially hiring the same person that would record an ad for the TV. Like I said, it's just a tiny little video. It needs to be consistent across all videos. It needs to match the brand's look and feel. So it needs to feel like the brand. We do that specifically by designing that look and feel with the brand. We include all of that by using a mobile phone and this automatic editing that we have implemented, and just making it accessible. I think it's really, we've got some clients who their stylists are now using the phone to record. So there's still a photographer on set because you still need the photos. So there's a photographer doing the photos. They step back, they do their selection. So they go through the 50 photos they've taken, they select the 4 that are actually going to go online. And whilst that's happening, somebody else is recording. Just streamlining workflows to make sure that everything is just like consistent, ticking along, so that the more products you do, the better it is for those clients.
You've spoken before about giving your clients or working with your clients on video recipes. Can you talk about what goes into a video recipe and what you might want the outcome of a video recipe to be in terms of the cake you're preparing?
You've got to understand that like Zara is never going to want to look like H&M, and JD Sports has a completely different look and feel to John Lewis. So that's already one differentiation. It's kind of more of sort of like intangible feel of the video. And then there's really simple things like the length of the video. So some of our clients can't have a long video online because their website can't handle it. So they have to like have a very short video. Clients can have a longer one. Some of them can have a less compressed file so that the quality is a little bit better. So all of these things you need to discover in the sort of discovery phase of talking to your client and actually find out exactly what's going to work for them. And then you can get really creative. So things like the number of clips, whether there's slow-mo, black and white, boomerang, logo, anything that you want to include in there, we can include in that video. That's when it gets interesting.
How long does that process take to develop that recipe with a given brand and get to a point where you're happy about consistent output?
It really depends on how much time the brand can give us. We can build a video very quickly, but then rather than just handing it over straight away, we do lots of testing to make sure that it's actually working correctly in our studio before we upload it to the client's app. So we normally ask for 48 hours from the moment of them delivering a video recipe to us for us to build, test, and push. The actual process of building, it really depends if they've done one before with us. If they have, it's 5 minutes. If they haven't, then there's a little bit of sort of like an education piece that goes into it of like actually explaining what this video recipe does for them. So the traditional way of videoing, you don't record a front shot and then a back shot and then a detail, whereas we have to do those things to enable the automatic editing. It's much more like the photo process. That's how we describe it. So when you're taking photographs, you do all the front shots, you do all the details, you do all the back shots, and then you pick your favorite ones and they get uploaded. It's very similar with our process. You record the front shot, you record the detail shot, you record the back shot, and then we arrange them into a lovely video that looks professional and with the look and feel of that brand.
What's your competition? Is it sort of the traditional video editing process? Is it no video editing process? Brands starting to use AI in-house and you need to convince them your enhancement is necessary? How does that look?
Yeah. There's one thing that we're really proud of. Nobody else is doing it with mobile phones yet. We're complete first movers with that, which is super exciting. We've had loads of interest from people just based on the fact that like we're doing this brand new way of video making using a different tool. I mean, traditional studios, if they continue making video in the same way, then, you know, they're making videos, we're making videos. Sort of these automatic editing and recording systems, which are kind of a bit more like stepping into a box and the camera's already mounted, the lighting's already sort of encompassed in that. It's slightly more robotic than what we can offer because we're essentially just saying all we're doing is swapping out your camera for a different camera. So you can still do anything that you would have done with a camera with our camera. Not even our camera, we've just designed an app and we happen to be using iPhones. I think the creativity part is still there. You can still move around with our camera. We've designed the camera modules so that you can, everything that you would normally set on a camera, the ISO, the shutter speed, anything is able to program that into an iPhone as well. I mean, I don't need to sell Apple's cameras. They're doing it themselves. All their advertising now is sort of like, I mean, the new Stormzy ads that they've done, it's all like filmed on iPhone. There's loads of fashion stuff actually being filmed on iPhone as well, like the catwalk shows being filmed on iPhone. They're doing their own promotion of that camera system. Like, I don't need to promote it for them. We're just tapping into all the benefits that they offer.
From what you're seeing from inside this bit of the industry, iPhone cameras are now getting good enough that traditional cameras just aren't needed. Would you think they'll be redundant soon?
No. So I think there's still a need for them, definitely. We're not suggesting that anyone uses an iPhone to create campaign photo shoots. I think they could. I know they could. I know Till's done it before. I wouldn't take away the cameras from that. Because I mean, there's also different levels. There's the iPhone, then there's the Sony, Canon, then there's the Alexa, there's so many different levels. So you need to pick a tool that is actually suitable for the job that you want to use it for. We had a comment once from a videographer who was worried about using an iPhone on set, saying that it's a tool that wasn't built for doing this job. But we pointed out that the cameras that they were using for e-com videos and photos were also not built for that job. The strain of taking, a few thousand photos every single day of the week on a piece of mechanical equipment with like a mirror that flashes, because the iPhone has a photo of me. There's no mechanical parts, it's all electrical, so it doesn't have that it doesn't wear away in the same way that a proper camera does.
Very cool. So you went on Founders Unplugged recently, and you mentioned there's a lot of fear around automation, technology, AI, placing jobs, shrinking the industry. How do you position InHaus as expansive and growing the market overall?
So there's going to be a big step change, definitely. There's lots of AI being used. I guess I didn't mention them, but they're definitely competitors. It's just a different way of making video. It's another way of making video. And both me and Till sort of firm believers in that, like, there's no end to the amount of content that you can make. So why would you replace one thing with another when you can actually add one thing to another and grow your content and just create more and better? And like, why would you cut one thing off? Just don't cut things off to spite your face, like use AI and this and that, and the creativity of your camera people and your stylists, like enable them to do more with new tools rather than replacing them with new tools, I think is kind of the route that me and Till would really like to promote, and we can see working in studios. That big step change to just shutting every single e-com studio and replacing with AI, I think is still a long way away. I did some tests the other day with sort of just like a simple app and like uploaded some shoes that I was trying to sell on Vinted. And I was like, I wonder how good it is. And like the photo they gave me back was like these tiny little legs. The boots kind of look right, but there weren't enough eyelets, where the laces go through. So it wasn't an exact representation. And actually what you need is consistent, accurate representations of the clothing and the items that are being sold. And not just in fashion, like across all retail. Like if you order a sofa that you see online, but then when it arrives, it's not got the same features, then you're going to return that item. I think AI still has a little way to go before it's completely replacing the industry.
And when you work with a customer, firstly, what are the best customers for in-house to work with? What does your solution work best for? And then when you work with those brands, what kind of metrics are you looking to deliver for them?
Our top targets are high volume retailers. So we're talking like the Farfetch, ASOS, that kind of client. Not that we're working with them yet. Our ideal target is high volume retailers. The more videos that make, the more scalable they need to be. The more videos they need, the more scalable a solution they need. And that's where we step in and can offer that scalable solution. That's our ideal target client. So we work with some brands directly. So for example, I'm just going to list brands, but we're not necessarily working with them. But ASOS, Farfetch, they make their own content and upload it themselves. But then other brands will go to a studio, a content creation studio, and will send their product to that content creation studio and just say, I want X number of photos delivered, X number of videos delivered. They're also great clients of ours. They need to create at scale because they make more. The more they make, the more money they make. So therefore, they're looking for solutions like ours to help scale their own productions. I think there's two different types of client there. And they're delivering very fast. So traditionally video takes like 24 hours to 3 days to be recorded to completion. And we deliver that in 5 minutes. We just did a trial with a really big company and they did photo and video within 6 minutes using InHaus and their own camera system for photo.
Awesome. What's the biggest skepticism you've had from investors and retailers you're selling to that you've had to address consistently?
Investors have just been like, the market's not big enough. I don't really understand, which is, I mean, you understand, Jamie, you're in retail and like understanding how big, especially like e-com is, it's gigantic. Having to explain that Nike will create a pair of trainers and to sell it online, they need a photo and a video, for example, but then Selfridges will sell that same pair of trainers. They also need a photo and video. They don't use the photo and video that Nike made. So this one pair of trainers needs to be content created for that one pair of trainers. It just sort of like spreads. So that's how big the market is. It's big.
I guess the biggest point of skepticism from your
retailers, it's normally, I have to say, from studios, because you're asking them to switch a piece of equipment that they have trained in using, sort of like whatever camera it is that they use and that they prefer to use, and you're asking them to switch for another piece of equipment. I'm sure many companies have the same thing. If you want a person to switch from using one type of pen to another, everyone has their own favorites. Everyone has their own software that they really like using, and then having to get them to switch software, that's where the skepticism comes in. But what we offer is we always do a free trial with our clients because we recognize that that is always going to be a problem, or not a problem, an issue that we need to prove that we can compete against these big cameras, whatever editors they're using, whether they're using external vendors or their own.
Cool. I want to talk about live streaming. So obviously huge in the US, 31% of US shoppers have live streamed and get increasing here in Europe. Do you see that as a growing trend? And is that something InHaus can help with over time?
We have had requests for this. To be honest, most of the big companies that we'll go into and talk to, we get different departments coming to us and asking whether they can use InHaus to help them. So we've had a lot of requests to help with UGC content. That's user-generated content. So brands will hire content creators. I don't know how else to, there's a lot of content words here, but content creators to create this UGC content. And that tends to be the more realistic, the less polished content sort of creation, but they still have certain guidelines that they need to sort of have fulfilled. So for example, with an unboxing video, It'll be that they send the product to somebody and they expect the unboxing to happen and then the product to be shown close up and then the product to be used, for example. And then sometimes they'll get sent the video back and the middle bit's missing. They just haven't recorded it. And they say these departments say they spend so much time chasing content and sort of negotiating. So they were like, well, your app seems to solve this because you've got a guided recording process in the app. So we could just send this app out to all our content creators. So we started looking into it. But we're not there yet. But maybe future roadmap sort of stuff. At the moment, we're concentrating on the e-com studios, but it's something that we're sort of playing around with.
I was going to ask about platform-specific content. So obviously, all these same retailers that have strategies for their e-com will have strategies for TikTok, Pinterest, Instagram. Do you have a sense of how brands think about that currently? And as you say, that's on the InHaus roadmap for the future?
Because we got so many questions about it, we kind of added it to the roadmap. It wasn't something that me and Till were particularly excited by at first. I've got more excited by it the more I've researched and looked into it. The problem that we have is, like I said, we target high volume retailers because they're making a lot of videos. That's where we make our money. So if a content creator makes 5 videos a day, that's not really that high volume that we want. So we need to work out a way that this is sort of like an actual business case for us. And I think that's where we're starting to see the potential. Live shopping, I think less so using InHaus. I haven't seen how we can possibly help with that. Just going back to your previous question, there's a few, I guess it's kind of based on live shopping. There's a few companies like Nordstrom in the US who are recording videos with stylists who sort of talk about the garment and will like describe parts of it, turn it around, style it with something, and they record sound and video. We were asked to do that as well. And we started looking into that. It's pretty simple to add a microphone to an iPhone. Again, the iPhone is just, the benefits of an iPhone is that it's a computer and a camera all in one. So everything's connected. So it's kind of exciting to look into these new possibilities because you can just plug into all these features that the iPhone can actually deliver.
And just to quickly clarify, we're talking a lot about iPhones. Is this iPhone specific, or would it be there are Android solutions for InHaus as well?
No, we've entirely focused on the iPhone. It has the best camera. I know lots of people will argue with me. We built the app entirely for iOS.
Okay, cool. So you mentioned there are a lot of different potential use cases for InHaus. What's your most surprising client so far?
Ooh. Kind of flip the question on its head a little bit. So I think the biggest surprise is one of our most successful clients sells to mainly sort of like middle-aged / older ladies sort of target. And they have scaled their video production in like incredible ways. They started off making like 5 videos a day, and they're now making a video for every single product. And that's really surprised me because I didn't realize that their sort of audience and their customer were going to be so sort of tuned into what content they were seeing. I thought it'd be easier to sell with just photos, description to the older target market. So I think that's kind of really surprised me compared to some of the ones which are selling to a much younger audience, which I would have expected them to sort of almost require video by now for every single product. And they're really not delivering on every single product. So I think that sort of difference has really surprised me. And it's made me rethink who I prospect out to. I don't necessarily go out to all the sort of the younger targeted brands. It's some of the other ones that I'm sort of targeting, trying to get into some, what's it called? Like mountain equipment and stuff right now, because I think video is perfect for showing how zips work and like hoods and pockets and all sorts. And like, if you can include all of this, I think rather than having 50 photos of different features that a coat might have or a bag might have, I think a video shows it really well and in a lot smaller time, sort of lot more ingestible. Is that a good way of saying it?
Yeah, it's great. So don't rule out anyone. Everyone needs video.
Exactly. Don't rule out.
Yeah, awesome. That's and if you think about forward-looking technology, if we want to call it that way, and obviously you're already leveraging AI and probably will more, but like you think about like augmented reality, virtual reality, further uses of AI. What are some forward-looking technologies you're looking forward to integrating with or leveraging?
So I think, like everybody, we were looking into AI models. So replacing the face of a model with a different face is what we're looking into. So you would still record a model moving around as you do currently, but then replacing the face of that model with a different face. That's something that we've toyed with and is working. It's just we've not built it into part of our workflow yet. We've not we've not released this new feature. I think that's kind of what we're looking into. That's really exciting with AI. Again, we've got lots of social teams who come up to us and they're sort of like, okay, great. So it's so easy to make these videos. Can we use it for socials? And as soon as that video is recorded, it belongs to our client. The IP is theirs. They can use that video for whatever they want. With socials, we realized that maybe they don't want just a plain white background. So we've been looking into sort of like 3D designs. And, like if it's a summer collection, maybe you can add some palm trees or something. And I think including that into the videos, so you'd have to re-render them again, add these bits, so you'd get like the different use cases for each of the videos, which I think would be really exciting to work on. It's just quite difficult because it's a different department. So when we talk to our clients, we're specifically talking to the content studios, which is kind of maybe the umbrella of marketing, but it's not quite the same department. So getting these people to talk to one another, I think would be really exciting. But that's a difficult ask when you're going into a company and making people talk to each other who haven't maybe communicated before.
Enterprise sales in general. So just I'm probably being thick here, but like the use case of changing up someone's face on an ad, is that a potential cost saving? Is that so it can be more easily scalable? Is that to appeal to different demographic? Like what is the big driver of people wanting to do that?
The biggest one is cost savings. So when you pay for a model, you pay for the model's license to use their face in whichever way that you want to use it. There's lots of companies, for example, I think Selfridges still do it, where when you see the photos, they crop the face here. And that's because you can't recognize the model anymore. So they pay the model less for that day on set. And there's a whole industry of models who are faceless models. Like it's not that they're taking a model who would normally get paid this much and reducing their fee. Like, there's a whole industry of specifically faceless models. So we're basically trying to get rid of the faceless model by just replacing the face. And that means our client can design a face, anything that they want. I do slightly on like the ethical side of replacing faces and designing AI faces. We really need to look into how we're going to promote this or use this and how our clients are going to use it, because there are many questions. I think there was a company that launched with Levi's, I think about 2 years ago, and one of the things that they said was like, oh, you can have a more diverse cast of models. And I think the pushback that they got was like, just hire diverse models, don't design them. And I do agree with that. So I think, there's a bit of work to be done around the ethics here.
In-house hate models.
We love models. No, this is the thing with in-house. We're not getting rid of anybody. We still need the team. We still need the model. We still need the studio, the lighting. So all we're doing is smoothing the bits out that needed smoothing. There's no bottlenecks now. So the bottleneck of like somebody having to work through hundreds of videos, now that just gets processed very quickly.
I mean, this is something that brands would gotta find a way to do anyway, right? At the end of the day, it's just speed to market has got to be everything in these things.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, delivering fast as well. We spoke to a client recently who said that, I don't even know if this is a real target for them because it just seems impossible unless you're using in-house. But they were saying that they want to get items online 5 minutes after they've arrived in the studio.
Wow.
And I was like, that is genuinely an impossible ask, I think, unless you're using in-house. So I'd love to see how they are going to achieve that unless they sign us up.
Sounds promising. I love the conviction. So if you could change one thing about the way that fashion brands approach content creation, what would that be?
Depends what content you're talking about. So if you're talking from a real personal point of view, I like consistency on a website. So when I go to a website and I'm comparing two different dresses, I want it to be that I can compare it on two front shots and two details very similar, and you're giving the same type of content. But when you're looking at more creative content, I mean, like Zara is a great example. Do some studio shoots, but they do a lot which just looks like an editorial. It looks like you're shopping from a magazine, and it's so aspirational. And you see that with a lot of other brands as well now. They're starting to do that. There's a really good example. Who was it? I think it's Odd Muse did this amazing project only with a few products, but their e-com dress would interact with each other. So like a ball would roll across each one of them, and it just looks so cool. And I think creativity and consistency can live side by side. And I think it would be really interesting to see if we manage to make video creation for the consistently needed videos so easy and so scalable, what more are we enabling them to do on the creative side? Because we're freeing up time and just just the availability of sort of like their staff to sort of go out there and explore new ways of showing content. That's two ways.
Wow, I love it. Love it. So you want to free up the logistical operational side so that creativity can shine through.
Yeah, perfectly
Cool.
similar.
So where's InHaus going to be in 5 years? Just staying in the fashion lane or other industries? And how big are you going to be?
Somebody asked me this and they said I needed an answer for my last funding round so that when investors asked, I could have it. And I was just like, I just want everyone to be using InHaus to make video. I want to be the leader. At the moment, there is no way that everyone turns to. Everyone does it differently. Whatever tools they're using, it's like a mishmash of tools. And it works great for lots of ways. But I think because it's end-to-end production for video, that's what we deliver. I think the idea that companies will be able to say, we want to make video, go to InHaus, sign it up. We design those video recipes, and within 2 weeks, you're making videos for every item if you really wanted to. And yeah, going into different verticals other than fashion, I think that would be really exciting. Beauty would be amazing. I mean, if you need a video for something, just InHaus is a tool. That's all it is, a tool to make video.
The tool.
That's where I want to be in 5 years. The tool to make video. Thanks, Jamie.
Very cool. I mean, I'll jump into the questions we ask everyone. So, obviously selling into primarily retailers. You mentioned studios as well, but on that retail side, what detail of like retail as an industry do you like the most?
In recent years, I love how accessible everything across retail has become. I think e-com has really opened that up. I mean, I remember as a young person, like to buy a holiday, you have to go to the shop to buy a holiday. And now you can piece together your holiday and like design it yourself. I think the accessibility of sort of cheap flights versus expensive flights, take your pick. The same with fashion, anything from like luxury all the way down to sort of like the high street and fast fashion, and just the accessibility of every single level of fashion, retail, anything you want to purchase, food. What's happened recent years with sort of like Deliveroo and Uber Eats and instant deliveries. I just think everything that's like making it accessible. I'm a huge advocate for accessibility anyway, just in any way. And I just think that step change from 5 years ago even, has been massive. And I find that really exciting.
What detail of retail would you most want to change?
Do I want to change? If I focus on fashion, because that's kind of my background and what I'm working in right now, I think lots of fashion brands are struggling. They're kind of morphing into something that's very similar. So I talked about that accessibility of sort of like there's the luxury brands and then there's high street and everything down to like Shein and Temu. But when you look at across the board, it's when you kind of cut into it all looks the same. So, and it's becoming like that because I don't know if it's because we've got so much data on customers now and clients that brands are sort of seeing what sells well, and they're going down that route more and more and more. And every brand is finding a very similar way of selling is selling more. So I'd love to see a bit more diversity, accessible, but diverse. Can I say that?
How are those diverse brands going to survive and differentiate themselves and reach their customers?
I mean, I think there's strong differentiation now in the sustainability sector. I think that's really, really cool and exciting to see. I have yet to see a huge amount of accessibility to the sustainable sector. So sustainable clothing costs more. I mean, like you get to a level where you just can't make it any cheaper, and that's totally understandable. But I think if we could find a way of making that more accessible so that people who do want to hit sustainability, because I mean, the fashion industry has a huge problem with what we are doing to the world and the environment, and it really needs to be considered. And there are loads of exciting potentials in the rental market, but again, I don't buy into the luxury and I don't buy the very bottom. I'm kind of in the middle. And the rental market for me, I look at it and I'm like, that's great if I'm going to a wedding and I need to spend £60 on a dress, but I never get to wear that dress again. I've not really had an opportunity to try it on and make sure it fits properly. And I've spent £60, the same as I would have if I've spent £60 on a dress, which I could wear multiple times. So I think that price point needs to be made more accessible for rental. I haven't really seen anybody managing that yet. I mean, I don't know how you can make Primark a rental market, but I think it's really unfortunate that they say that like Vinted and like eBay, they're all flooded with all the sort of lower end price points. I mean, flooded, like it's all Primark, Zara, like the lower end. So people are buying these things and still selling them on or sending them somewhere else. What if we could rent these pieces and still pay a low price point, but it can be reused. I don't know. I'm kind of like riffing now. Again, maybe this is my next business. I'm not always thinking of the next one. Where am I going to be in 5 years? I'm going to have left InHaus. I've sold it. I'm on to my new one.
I love the unexpected turns this conversation has taken. Got to figure out insurance if you're going to do circular economy. We'll be there. We'll be there for some version of us. What's your most controversial prediction for the future of retail?
I mean, tying into that rental piece, I think we're going to be owning less than we are now. And that's partly down to, yes, rental, but also the digitization of life. I mean, there was huge pushes towards buying digital outfits. And so you're not sort of overproducing and the sustainable part of that. And I think it kind of died a little death, actually. I've not really seen very much about it. I mean, I know it's still sort of like simmering away. And I think that's going to resurface in a really big way. I mean, we already live so much of our lives online, avatars. I mean, you and me talking to each other right now through a screen. People use Facetune. Like, do people actually look like what they look like in real life? I think people are going to own less. And I don't know what that's going to do to retail. So my controversial opinion is I don't know what's going to happen to retail because I think we're going to own less.
So general overall decline or flight to quality and digital assets. Interesting. And what's your craziest story from working in retail?
Oh, God. So I don't think this is going to be that relevant to startup life, but just have you ever worked in retail, like actually on the shop floor?
Not for 19 years, but yes.
It is a crazy place. Like they should write sitcoms and stuff about just shop life. I've done everything from Tesco to Urban Outfitters. I've done Ladbrokes for a good few years. I know that's not necessarily traditional retail, the betting market, but the characters that you meet and the expectations that are placed on people that work in shops, they're pretty mad. Yeah, crazy stories. I used to work in the Urban Outfitters at Oxford Street Circus, and there was a man who used to stand under the stairs and look up at all the girls' skirts, and we had to ban him. That's my craziest story.
That is madness.
Yeah. I mean, that was wild, that experience of working at Urban Outfitters, to be honest. I wouldn't want to go back there.
All right. Well, we'll keep that for another day. Thanks, Isabella. Really enjoyed having you on the podcast.
Thank you, Jamie. See you soon.